migrants crossing the Channel to enter the UK is now at record levels, with more than 5,000 people attempting the perilous journey this month alone. Last week, Good Morning Britain was live in the Channel. We saw 3 men set sail in canoe, kayak. I mean, it's not a safe vessel to make that journey. It's cold weather, risky sea conditions. There's people who, of course, do not have sympathy.
Now, the government has said the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, is being put under huge pressure to curb the number of migrant crossings, even though we're currently taking far less refugees than our neighbours in, say, Germany or France. So, should we accept more migrants to solve the crisis?
We're joined now by Hassan Akkad. Now, Hassan is a Syrian refugee. And, of course, we talked to you, Hassan, during the pandemic because you worked in a hospital and you contributed so much. But, you know, you have come from the same sort of background as many of these people making that perilous journey across the water. Alt Mehmet is the chair of Migration Watch UK. Very good morning to you both.
Morning.
Hassan Akkad, what do you make currently of the fact that there are this record number of people coming over? And, you know, I would hazard a guess that public sympathy is very much on the side, I expect, of the families, the children, anyone vulnerable who's at risk. Perhaps not so much on 3 strong men in a boat who come across the water. Do you get that impression?
Good morning to you.
Morning.
Yes, I do get that impression. Let me start by saying that I do not agree, or I don't like seeing people crossing one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. It's a dangerous journey, it's a dangerous crossing, and it shouldn't happen. However, people are making these crossings because of the lack of regular and safe routes into Britain. Unfortunately, there isn't currently a functional, regular and safe option or a route for people to come and claim asylum in Britain. You can't walk into an embassy in Kabul and claim asylum or apply for a humanitarian visa. And speaking of Afghanistan, actually, you can't, the resettlement scheme, which Priti Patel announced 3 months ago, is currently not functional. If you are in Afghanistan and you click on that link to apply for resettlement to the UK, you get a message that says the system is not functional, try again later. So in the absence of these legal, regular and safe routes, people are forced to make these dangerous journeys. And I think that the government should consider, the focus mainly now on how to stop people coming in. A policy that focuses only on stopping people from coming into the country will force people to take more dangerous journeys. There should be a more human and compassionate approach so people can actually come here safely without having to risk their lives and then claim asylum in Britain.
Alt Mehmet, let's come to you. I mean, if you look at some of the figures that are coming out now, shouldn't we be calling this a refugee crisis, not a migrant crisis? The Refugee Council themselves, through the Freedom of Information Act, asked for Home Office statistics, and Home Office statistics have proven that 2/3 of those people arriving on the boats are genuine refugee cases. This is a refugee crisis, not a migrant crisis, isn't it?
Well, look, first of all, let's be clear. We're talking about human beings, and what we want is to make sure that they're not risking their lives, they're not losing their lives. That's, I think, important thing that we should consider. However, let's look at what is actually going on. You say this is a refugee crisis. Many of them have come from countries where life is certainly difficult, where they are really not employed, they're not, their life is pretty miserable. So you can certainly understand why they would want to improve that. But if you're saying they are refugees in the strictest sense of the word, refugees in accordance with the 1951 Refugee Convention, then they're not. if they were, they would be seeking refuge in the first safe country that they got to. They're coming from a safe country. And that, I'm afraid, is where we have to differ as to whether or not these are refugees.
But via international law, Al, but hang on, via international law, Al, they are. They don't have to settle in their first country, and many people do. Let's not forget, if you think about Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iran have millions of refugees, so many of them do. We're only talking of 23,000 who are trying to get here over boats, but they are entitled to do so if they have family here, if they speak English, or if they feel they have a connection to Britain. And let's face it, a lot of these countries will feel they've got a connection to Britain because British troops have been in their countries for many, many years in history.
Well, the British troops have not been in Vietnam, one of the countries that a lot of the migrants, and by and large they are migrants, are coming from. And we are actually taking in something like 30,000 a year asylum seekers who have been granted asylum. So it's not that we're not doing anything. We have taken them in from Syria. We will be taking them in from Afghanistan. The reason why the whole system has come to a halt now is because we haven't got the housing. And that's something we must also take into consideration. You say, it's been suggested that if we take in more through a safe route, regular route, then it would stop. It wouldn't. We're talking about 80 million people displaced around the world, 26 million who are effectively refugees around the world. There are over 4 million who are in Europe at the moment, irregular migrants. So it's really the number you've got to look at, and we've got to be sensible about it. Of course, we will take in those that we can. However, to say that if you come across in a dinghy across the channel, everything's fine, just make it here and you will be here safe and dry, I'm afraid all that will do is mean that more and more and more will risk their lives to get here.
Yeah. Hassan Akkad, what you said in your first answer that people are forced to make this journey. But what do you make of the point that, of course, if they're coming from France, they're already in a safe country?
I just want to comment on some of the things that Mr. Mehmet had said. He mentioned the number of refugees around the world, but it's also good to remind the viewers that less than 1% of the world's refugees population are in Britain. And it's actually not up for him to decide who's a refugee or not. It's up to the judges here. People who are, according to Home Office statistics, according to the Home Office statistic, people who are coming here are mainly from Syria, from Yemen, from Iraq, from Afghanistan, from Eritrea, from Ethiopia, and these are countries where people are facing torture and human rights abuse. And most of these countries, people are not coming because they want better jobs, or they're coming here for the £5 a day that asylum seekers get. They're coming here because there's serious risk for their lives. And what do I make of people going through safe countries and coming to Britain? It is perfectly legal for people to travel through safe countries and then come to Britain. Again, this is according to international law. You can travel through safe countries and then come here. Most of the people stay in Germany, stay in France, stay in Sweden, but the tiny minority of people come here, again, because they have link to this country. They already speak. In my case, I traveled through 10 safe countries before I got here. But why did I do that? It's because I can already speak the language. It'll be easier for me to integrate. It'll be easier for me to start a new life. And most of the people who have come here already have relatives here who can help them rebuild their lives, give them a shoulder to lean on, and help them integrate in the community. It's also very important to remind the viewers that we talk about, there's been a conversation about the government wants to remove the pull factors. They're saying that they want to deter people from coming here by removing the pull factors. It's not, life as an asylum seeker in Britain is not great. You are not allowed to work. You live on £5 a day. People are now being put in disused army barracks that are not fit for humans, and living in limbo for years and years. And sometimes also people can be put in prison at any point and incarcerated. It is not a perfectly functional system.
Okay.
The asylum
All right.
laws in this country are broken. They need to be fixed.
OK. Hassan Akkad, thank you very much. And you are a shining example of what we're talking about and what you've done here in the time that you've been here since 2015. So we thank you very much for that. And Alt Mehmet, thank you so much as well from Migration Watch for joining us this morning on Good Morning Britain. Now, we do have a statement to read out from the Home Office. Spokesperson told us our new plan for immigration will fix the broken system, which encourages migrants to make this lethal journey. People should claim asylum in the first safe country they reach, rather than making dangerous journeys to the UK. That is why we'll have rules in place to make asylum claims inadmissible where people have travelled through or have a connection to safe countries.